So, how do we build a city that actually works for the people living in it? Is it all about maximizing growth, building bigger and faster? Or is there something more fundamental at play? Today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating take on modern city planning, looking at it through the lens of a classic principle from Islamic jurisprudence. This is all based on the amazing work of Dr. Ahmed Mansour AlMosalamy in his book, Al-Umran. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with that foundational Islamic vision for cities. Then we'll get into the core idea, this repelling harm principle. After that, we'll see how it applies to a real-world case study in Egypt, put their modern laws under the microscope, and then see what big-picture lessons we can take away. All right, let's dive into our first section. To really get what's going on here, we have to travel back in time a bit and understand how early Islamic cities were even put together in the first place. Now, this might surprise you, but these early cities didn't have these huge, complex books of urban planning laws like we do today. Their growth wasn't dictated by some central government issuing thousands of regulations from the top down. It was a very different system. Instead, the whole fabric of the city was woven around core principles that came directly from Islamic jurisprudence, or Sharia. You can think of it as a kind of guiding philosophy that created stable, organized, and livable places. And it's this principled way of thinking that we're going to use as our main tool for analysis. Okay, now we're getting to the absolute heart of the matter. This next idea is the central principle from our source, and it's the lens we're going to use to look at everything else. And here it is. Repelling harm is prioritized over bringing benefit. Just let that sink in for a second. It's an incredibly powerful idea. It basically says that your first job, your primary duty, isn't to go out and create something new and beneficial. No, your first job is to stop something bad from happening in the first place. So what does this look like when you're planning a city? Well, it means the health and safety of the people who live there comes first. Period. Things like protecting folks from noise pollution or overcrowding or dangerous factories, that has to be a higher priority than just chasing maximum economic profit. All right, so we've got this powerful principle. Now let's put it to the test in the real world. We're going to zoom in on the history of city planning laws in Egypt and use it as our case study. You see, for a long time, cities in Egypt kind of grew without any grand unified plan. And the result, as you can imagine, was often chaos. You'd have industrial zones popping up right next to where people lived, a real jumble of uses that just didn't work. Eventually, the government knew it had to step in with some formal laws. And that legal journey took place over 130 years. You can really break it down into three big phases. You've got the very beginning with some initial rules. Then comes the first real dedicated planning law. And that all leads up to the big one, the Unified Building Law of 2008, which is what we're really going to focus on. Okay, this is where it all comes together. We have our principle, we have the historical context. Now it's time to really put Egypt's modern planning law under the microscope and see how it stacks up. So the author poses this crucial question. When you hold it up against that standard of repelling harm, how does this big modern 2008 law actually do? We're not just looking at the fancy language in the law itself, but at its actual real-world impact on people's lives. And here's the breakdown. The intent of the law was great. It was all about unifying regulations and bringing order. But the analysis shows it's got some major shortcomings. It hasn't really stopped urban sprawl or that chaotic mixing of land uses. And most importantly, when you judge it by our core principle, it seems that economic development still often gets prioritized over preventing real social and environmental harm. So let's bring it all home. We've looked at this ancient principle and applied it to a very modern set of laws. What's the bottom line? What are the big lessons we can walk away with? I think this quote just nails the central argument perfectly. It completely reframes how we should think about success. A great city plan isn't measured by all the cool new buildings it allows. It's measured by the suffering, the stress, the horror that it successfully designs out of our daily lives. And that really leaves us with this one big, thought-provoking question. As we face these massive challenges in our cities today, from climate change to just making them livable, is it possible that the best framework for our future might actually be found in the wisdom of our past,